And so, due to my own experiences over this last 20 years, I've always said that Reiki will guide you, show you, and teaches you. So to trust, be open, and just flow with it.
Welcome, I'm Diana Fels, and thanks for joining me. I'm passionate about helping people transform for their own light to shine. I'm super excited to be in Kyoto, Japan on Mount Kurama, which is a wonderful place to be, and somewhere where it's great to talk about how Reiki guides you, shows you, and teaches you. What I found over the last 20 years, Reiki guides you, shows you, and teaches you, and that's what it's been shown to me. When I first started my journey in 2003, I knew nothing about Reiki. I'd never heard about Reiki. I barely traveled overseas. I did a little bit of US, a little bit of Europe, and my first off the beaten travel trip was Mexico. And when I got to Mexico, no one spoke any English, and so I soon had to quickly learn some Spanish words, and if in doubt, use an English word and add a "o" or "a" at the end, and somehow, some way I got by. And I was sitting on a bus, and this lady who sat beside me was from Ireland, and she said, "My boss does Reiki, it's really good, you should do it." And she didn't say a single thing more, and nor did I ask, because back in those days I was very super polite, and it didn't occur to me to ask more questions, and I didn't even think it was of interest to me. So what was it good for? I had no idea what it was good for. And so when I got home, in the mail, there was a flyer in the mail to do Reiki at the local school at night. And so I turned up to this course to do Reiki at the local school, and I had no idea why. Or because someone said it was good. Good for what? I didn't know. So I did this course, and the teacher told me there was Reiki 1, 2, and 3. And as a good little teacher's pet student, I did the series because it was logic to me. You do the series. That's just what you do, because that's a logic thing to do. So I did the series of all 3, and I still didn't really know or understand what it was all about just yet. And it was very interesting how innocent and trusting I was back then, and just turning up because someone said it was good, and I didn't even know good for what, but I still turned up. When I look at today, if I was going to train in something and someone said it was good, I'd ask a million questions about it. I'd analyze the crap out of it, and I'd also would get on the internet and I would search and search and search, and I'd search for the best teachers, the best value, the best person, someone's ethical, someone who's got substance. So I'd be looking for quite a lot, which is completely different world to back then to now. So it was quite interesting how the pureness of Reiki had guided me to Reiki and also onto the right lineage path. The other interesting thing was too is the teacher said, you need to go out and practice. And so, like a good little student and teacher's pet, the only place I had to go practice was at work. And so I was living in Sydney in those days, and I worked for the Salvation Army, and I had no filter whatsoever. So I didn't know if it was good or bad or taboo. It didn't occur to me if I should or shouldn't talk about Reiki at all. And I went into work, and it wasn't just the Salvation Army, it was also finance. So finance and accounting, Salvation Army. And I said, I learnt this thing called Reiki. I've been told I need to practice. Can I put my hands on you? And nobody said anything, and they were all super polite, but it wouldn't have been okay at all. And they would have probably been having some pretty serious thoughts about that. But it didn't occur to me to not do it, and everyone was too polite to ask. Everyone said they were feeling things, experiencing things, and I believed them, but I didn't quite fully trust it, because they were trustworthy people, they were honest people, and I did believe them, but the penny hadn't really dropped yet what Reiki was all really about. And I didn't fully trust it yet, because that took a long journey to work on how to trust it, because I came from a world of science and proof, and I don't just need proof, I need multiple proof. Not just one proof, I need multiple proof before I can accept it's real and this is substance. And the other interesting thing I would point out too at the Salvation Army as well, back then, backing off those 90s, early 2000s, they were very, very strict place. And to give you an example of that is on a Friday night, they'll go around collecting funds at the local pub. They won't even have a glass of water because it's an alcoholic establishment. Even if they needed a glass of water, they still wouldn't have that glass of water because it's an alcoholic establishment. So that's how strict they are. And here I'm going, hey, can I put my hands on you? Can I put my hands on you? I need to practice. And yet no one say anything, all polite, all saying they feel things, but and I still wasn't sure yet and still had to learn my lesson in trust. In the beginning, it was a really long journey to realize this trust, and to be open to the energy without solid proof. So the first 10 years I'd worked on family, friends, went out in the community wherever I can help. I did hands-on healing. And then after that, 10 years later, I then started venturing into the practitioner side of things.
But what I found the biggest and most learnings came when you're working with the energy. So it was always teaching me, always showing me something, and it brought a far deeper understanding of the energy, the elements and aspects when working with the energy. And so 20 years on, a lot more has been revealed about Usui and traditional ways. So I found the more I stripped away the add-ons, approached it from a traditional thought, kept it simple and trusted, the more seemed to transform on and off the table. And so it felt like me, every time I was working with it, there was some sort of training wheels or teachers around you guiding you all the time. And so the more I worked with that energy, worked on myself, did meditations, did hands-on healing, the more it seemed to show and teach. And the more I seemed to grow, the more I seemed to learn and have inner reflections. And when I was working with the energy and just following whatever I was being presented and whatever I was being shown and just flow with it, which is something that was not taught to me 19 years ago, nor did I read it in a book. And at that time, there was major influences of the New Age creations and Western style push. And it felt like I was going against the grain and what other people was doing. And it also felt like I was doing something odd, but I just kept following whatever I was being shown, whatever I was presenting. And the more it seemed to flow, the more I seemed to learn. And it just worked, or at least it worked for me. And what was interesting, while I was just following what I was being shown, and it maybe took me another 8 to 10 years later, I would come across somebody or a book that had some substance, and then I'd find that proof, and I'll be like this aha moment going, oh, there's that proof I wanted like 10 years earlier. Now I have it. And it somehow just seems to be I was just being gravitated towards more traditional thoughts with not even realizing it, just by following whatever I was being guided, which is perfect for me because it's how I like to operate. So somehow the energy knew internally what my makeup and what I align with, and just sort of gravitated me towards that. And you've got to remember, I'm a proof person, so it's not real until I have solid proof. And so I was forced to be in a world of this trust and flow with it. And maybe I get proof later, or maybe I get back up about it, or maybe I don't. And that was not a world I was used to working in. And so due to my own experiences over this last 20 years, I've always said that Reiki will guide you, show you, and teaches you. So to trust, be open, and just flow with it, because that was what was constantly being shown to me. What was further interesting in more recent years, when I crossed paths with people who have information on Mrs. Takata, she had a saying too, let Reiki teach you. And that really resonated and super excited me, because it comes back to solidifying and unaware of the links of what I was experiencing these last 20 years, and that other teachers and other profound people in the space have experienced the same also. And that brings another layer of aha moments and how amazing and wonderful the Reiki energy is. And while I touched on a little bit on what sometimes Reiki shows you, when working with people, you see some amazing things, just blows me away, where you see the person's body and health conditions tend to soften or go or disappear. And sometimes the mental emotional space will change and shift as well. And it's not just the body and the emotions and the energy, but it seems to ripple out that changes through their life seem to happen as well. And I would not have believed it had I not seen it, experienced it, and come across people who are really generally this is happening for. So I find it's an amazing energy, and I find it's amazing what it can do. It's always teaching me something. It's a wonderful energy. It feels nurturing and soothing, worth giving it a go and trying. Much gratitude having fell into Reiki and that Reiki had found me. And this is a small little snippet about me, and thanks for listening.
Was there something that resonated with you? I'd love to hear about it. Put a comment below. Peace to you all and keep shining your light. Arigato gozaimasu.